as we're getting ready to start the Supersport Superstock 600 race.
It is, and the neat thing about MotoAmerica is the track does dry quick. If you look right in the middle of the track there, that's going down the back straightaway. That's going to be a very, very fast section of racetrack, but it's going to dry very quick. So when I look at how many laps these guys are going to be doing in this race, 12 laps, I think to myself, where's it going to be on lap 6? When you have this many bikes going out there and riding around, we got 10 rows here of riders. So you start thinking, now tire choice is going to come into play. And we just saw one of these races at VIR, and we saw something that played out pretty pivotal in the championship with JD Beach jumping out to a big lead like he did. And his championship contender or rival, I guess you could say, Garrett Gerloff, went with the right tire choice, and that is really what made that race what it was.
Let's talk about tire choice. So when we're looking at this series, basically you have 3 tires that you can choose from in terms of how they grip. A full wet tire, that is a softer tire with deep grooves in it. You have an intermediate tire or a DOT tire. Now that's the tire that's actually standard on the Superstock 600 bikes, or the Supersport riders have a full slick to choose from. So when we look at water on the racetrack, Jason, why is it when it's drying conditions like this, is it so difficult to choose the proper tire?
Well, if you obviously, slicks right now are not going to be the go, only because it's not going to be able to channel out the water the way we needed to channel out the water. So it's going to be, it could be the way to go. If we had some wind, I'm looking out the window right now, if we had some wind, it's going to help dry the track out more. As we look at the front straightaway here, coming out of that last corner, you can still see some patches of real moisture on the track. That said, you got to just try to determine how quick that moisture is going to dry up. You could see a rain front, slick rear, or a DOT front, slick rear, something like that. There's so many different combinations. With a DOT tire, obviously with the grooves, that's going to be something that's going to be able to channel out the water. I don't really know at this point if full wets are going to be the real go here, only because I think that if the track starts to dry out, we're going to run into that same problem that JD ran into at VIR. Now, that day, the biggest difference was we had a lot of sunshine on the racetrack, and that really dried the track out quickly. Here, we got some overcast skies. We have some patches of blue sky out there, but without the wind really blowing, I'm feeling like it's going to be a rain front, DOT rear, or maybe just DOTs.
Very difficult choice right now for the riders. A lot at stake in the championship as we look at that, as Garrett Gerloff is leading that championship right now by 31 points over Valentine DeBees, JD Beach, Cam Peterson, Joe Roberts in the mix as well. So we have riders on the top end, sharp end of the field. Everybody's going to be looking at what they're going to be doing. We're going to take a break here as everything gets sorted out. Stay with us on beIN Sports, Supersport, Superstock 600, coming up. The middle-weight class getting out on the racetrack right now for 2 sighting laps before they halt at the grid for the pre-race celebration. We're getting ready for the Supersport Superstock 600 race here at MotoAmerica in very tricky conditions. You can see on your screen those lighter patches indicate that the track is drying. Darker patches indicate it's still wet. So what MotoAmerica has decided to do was give these riders an opportunity to go out on 2 laps and really see what's going on. Certain parts of the racetrack, the sun is shining, Jason, and now looking at the flags in front of our position, it's really starting to blow down the front straightaway. I really think as long as the rain stays away that this is going to be dry. I mean, look at the fans. There's not even an umbrella in the sight. So
no, I think there's zero chance you got to go with wet tires here. This could be one of those races that, as fans, it's great because you're going to see people that you maybe don't normally see up at the front. You're going to see it much more bunched up because there's only going to be so fast that these guys can go on the tire choices that they're going to make. I think if you make a rain tire choice here right now, the way it sits, any rider that I would have out there, I would say, look, we've got to make some sort of DOTs or full slicks because every tire that runs through any bit of precipitation that's on the track right now is drying the track up. You get a little bit of wind, it's just going to continue to dry. You can look in the braking zone here, coming down into the turn 11, 12 area. This is the little chicane. You go underneath that Continental Tire bridge. All that is getting dry under braking. So a front tire that's a rain front tire isn't going to be able to withstand the next, say, 14 or 15 laps with their siding laps and things. That rain's going to just melt. So I'm going to have a look and see what that guy right there is on, number 31. If I'm on the grid, I'm going to look and see what Garrett Gerloff is choosing because he made the right choice at VIR, and I feel that it's going to be DOT or slicks. You might see some guys go with DOT front, slick rear.
Yeah. looking at the radar on my phone, the weather has now off to the east, so it's already past Sheboygan, which is just a few miles to the east of where we are and over the water. There's a next front coming, but it's off in Beaver Dam. So by the time this race gets finished, we won't see any other weather, although it does have the potential to reach Road America, but not in time. So I can guarantee you that down on the grid in the pit box, people are looking on their phones. Crew chiefs are looking at their phones, and they're going to make recommendations to the riders as now they come up here. And it looks like as riders are out there, they're just going to do this one sighting lap, finish things up right now, and head on to the grid. So yeah, look at that drawing line. And you know, oftentimes, Jason, even with the slick tire, as long as there's no standing water, the little bit of dampness on the racetrack isn't going to really affect traction all that much.
No, and I think that the track's going to dry out real quick. I think anybody that goes with rains, like I said, and you got to remember too, the speed that these guys go down the front straightaway and the back straightaway and all that, it's just going to heat those tires up. And so what you really do then is you're going to be wearing out the middle part of those rains even more. And I know we need them in the dry, but there's just no way that you can go with rains as of right now. And the sun has actually come out and it's on the racetrack. So we can maybe Christy's got something she can tell us about tires down there on the grid.
Christy?
Yes, I'm right out on the grid right now, and it looks like the teams are bringing out different tire options just in case they want to change it last minute.
Okay, so yeah, we can see that some of the, thanks Christy. So yeah, Jason, what they're doing is they have a variety of tires mounted. You might have some DOTs, might have some slicks, and so they're bringing them out and they're going to make this last minute choice. So yeah, that's key to know as the teams that have maybe higher budgets versus some privateer teams are going to have the ability to do that. Not only have those tires mounted, but also have those warmers on them.
Yeah, a lot of the teams, if you've only got a couple sets of rims, let's say you've ran wets or you're running slicks or you're running DOT. DOT is going to be the safest option probably prior to the start of this race. If they made the choice of what should we take out to the wall, it was clearing up pretty well. And when we watched the end of that KTM race, Greg, we could see a lot of dry patches, and you can see them right now even on the TV in front of us. It really shows how crowned this front straightaway is. We're still 7.5 minutes away from getting this race underway, and these guys are going to have another sighting lap to be able to go look at things.
All right, let's get on to Christy, who has our pole sitter, Garrett Gerloff.
Garrett, not ideal track conditions, but you've been killing it this season. What are your predictions for the race?
I think predictions are kind of hard to come by right now. It's the track's just like VIR, but I'm not really sure if this track's going to behave the same way as far as drying up. So I just got to figure out what tires I'm going to use and then just focus on the race. So we'll see how it goes, but it's all in the air.
Good luck.
All right, so Garrett banked on his experience from VIR, from doing club races, and he knew it was going to dry, and that was that tire choice you were talking about, Jason. So not as straightforward in this one.
I just feel like, look at where the grid is right now. It's dry. It's already dry. Now, there's going to be some sections that are going to be wet. There's going to be some sections down in the bottom part. We have some elevation here that you wouldn't see necessarily on TV. But down in those areas, in the low points, it's going to be wet. I guarantee you every rider's looking at what everybody else is putting on. I thought it was very coy of Garrett to say, I'm trying to figure out what tires I'm going to use. He knows what he's going to use.
And listen, they're going to leave those tire warmers on until the very last moment because they don't want to give away anything. Another rider who's, he's very fast, and teammate to Garrett Gerloff is JD Beach. He's with Christy.
JD, how are you going to be treating this race with the current track conditions?
It's going to be hard. I mean, we had this problem at VIR, and I went out on rain tires and lost the race. I got 14th and was not a good race, and it's definitely not as dry as it was at VIR, but we're still going to put the slicks on, and I mean that's what everybody else is doing, so we're just going to try and keep it on two wheels and let the track dry out and stay with the front guys.
Best of luck out there.
All right, thank you, Christy and JD. 34 points back right now, third. I mean, JD's finished, as JC said, second, third, first, third, 14th, and third. So obviously we know JD loves to live on the podium and win races, but that 14th right now really killing him in the points, being behind Valentine DeBees.
I love JD. He made a comment there about, we're going to try to do what everybody else is doing. And by everybody else, I think it's the guy on the left of him. I think he knows that Garrett's on slicks.
Yep.
And, one of the things that I think is when you have a title challenger that you're going up against, you can't put yourself at a deficit to put yourself on a different tire than what they are on. If you're both running 15th, then it's not going to matter because you're both racing against each other still. But in these kind of conditions, I just reckon that it's going to get dry so fast that he cannot take the chance to be on anything other than slicks probably. And you might see those guys go kind of to the back at the beginning. I think going down and breaking into turn 5 is going to be very key, depending on how wet it is down there. But it's a race of patience. 12 laps around this track is a long time, Greg. So, we're looking at a 4-mile-long racetrack here, and it is going to dry.
Let's go back down to the grid with Christy.
Valentine, it's tricky conditions out there. What's your strategy?
So we changed right now to the slick tire. It looked like everybody else doing the same stuff as us. So like in VIR on Saturday, we be tricky race. So I will be safe at the beginning. Take my time to look at the track because I didn't know, I have no experience on this track, on this condition. So I will take my time, see how it's going, and if I can push myself at the end, I will do it.
Thank you. Good luck.
All right, so there you go. I mean, he doesn't have any experience. This is his first visit to Road America, and of course,
And Greg,
tough.
Valentine has just done an unbelievable job this year in general. But the fact that he's 4th on the grid, he's only 0.8 off of Garrett Gerloff's time. Another guy has never seen the track before. It's pretty incredible. And I talk all the time, and a lot of people probably have heard me say this, there's no home track advantage when you get to a certain level, of world level, and he's raced at that level. Tony Elias, we've seen him get up to speed. Claudio Corti, everybody thinks, oh, these guys haven't been to these tracks before. No, it doesn't. It takes them 6-8 laps, because when they do their little track walks on Thursday and they look at the track, they've seen a corner somewhere in the world that looks just like the one that they're looking at there. And these guys draw that in their mind. They can see it. They've looked at videos. They can gauge off of a video how fast people are going through certain corners. They know the tracks before they even get here. So that said, now having the idea of throwing a condition into it, whether it can be wet, dry, whatever it is, that guy there has probably more experience than anybody in these kind of conditions due to World Endurance Championship that he's ran so many times. And I've enjoyed my conversations with him about that because I've done a little bit of it. And these kind of conditions don't scare him at all. And that's how we want all of our kids and everybody here in America to start to get, because when they get thrown to the wolves like Cameron did last weekend in Donington Park, they've got to be ready to go over there and race under any kind of conditions.
A good look at number 27, Joe Roberts. Joe Roberts very fast this weekend, and a lot of confidence for the Wheels in Motion Yamaha, the number 27.
Said to him earlier, I can tell within 3 or 4 laps, because you and I always go out and we watch these practice sessions and things on Fridays, and I said to Joe, I said, I can tell within 3 to 5 laps if you're comfortable or not comfortable. And this was one of the weekends where I was in a very specific area of the racetrack watching on my scooter the other day, and Joe was on it, like from the get-go. He just looked comfortable. He looked ready. He's kind of told me, he's like, Jay, I'm comfortable in dry right now and wet. He's going to be right at the front of this group.
Number 45 is Cam Peterson, the South African, who's had a very good run at it so far this season. A bit up and down, 4th in points right now. He started off the season 6th, 4th, 5th. He had a DNF, and since then a 1st, a 2nd, and a 4th. So Cam Peterson showing some speed this weekend at this racetrack, a 220.2 to qualify 5th fastest and the 5th of 6 Supersport bikes. Almost the entire field on back, including this one, number 74, Bryce Prince, on Superstock 600 machines, as denoted by that red backing number plate.
And Bryce is qualified 6th. And to do a 2:21.4 here is an incredible lap time. This kid's the real deal. He's done an incredible job so far this year. His consistency has been unparalleled. He's won some races and done really well for himself.
You know what, and I have to say about Bryce Prince, we've seen some other competitors on Superstock 1000 machines talk about, oh, I want to race superbikes. I want to be up there with superbikes. The one thing I spoke with Bryce Prince about today was, you don't seem so urgent to go have to race Supersport machines, that you're really focusing on winning the Superstock 600. He said, yeah, why would I try to push so hard? A Supersport machine accelerates a little better than Superstock 600, so when they get that gap, if it's too much of a gap, I'm not going to go crazy under braking and try to throw it all away. I'm concentrated on winning my championship.
And that's what he's got to do.
Thought it was mature, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And him and Mike Pond have put a great team together down there with Tuned. And Bryce has shown his veteranism, I think, in this whole thing, because he's been around a while. And this year he's really put the pieces together. He's not been falling as much as sometimes maybe in the past. He just looks like he's matured a great deal, and it shows in the points. And if you're going to win that Superstock championship this year, you're going to have to go through Bryce Prince to do it.
All right, the grid. Garrett Gerloff on pole with JD Beach, Joe Roberts, your front row. Valentine DeBees, Peterson, and Bryce Prince, the first of our Superstock 600 machines. Richie Escalante now a couple races back, doing really well to qualify second Superstock 600. Jason Aguilar on back there. Now here's a look at row number 4, Travis Wyman. Nick McFadden also back from injury in his second race. JC Camacho, who we've seen had some good races.
Michael had a problem this morning. Gilbert there on row 5 with a fork leg, so I'm hoping they got that fixed. Connor Blevins struggled hard yesterday. Come back. Dean Campbell all the way back. Xavier Zayat, Andrew Lee back there on row 6. Looking at row 7, Carolyn Olsen, Mark Rhodes, and Carl Saltitz all on row 7. Now, Melissa Paris did a great job. The next 5 you see, Gabe Miller, Fogel, Ann Roberts, Luke Luciano, and all the way back to Patricia Fernandez. They were our last chance qualifiers. It's awesome to see Josh do so well. He had a motor blow first day.
Yep.
Ann Roberts, she finally got a full weekend under her belt of riding so far. Patricia Fernandez is qualified for her first time this year to get to the big show.
Those last 3, Jason, Luke, Jai, and Patricia, their first race of 2016. So welcome to the grid. Welcome to the Supersport Superstock 600 race. We're looking forward to seeing what's going on with those 3 riders.
And I think it's great. We got 3 ladies out there in this class and very competitive. Melissa Paris has been fast from the get-go this weekend. We run these guys in 2 groups, so the top 15 Superstock guys will get to be promoted to the Supersport from weekend to weekend. So when we go to Barber, the top 15 Superstock riders will automatically get to practice with the Supersport riders. Now, Melissa led both practice sessions over the last 2 days, and this morning moved herself right through. They all got through on their times, which is fantastic. And we've been watching Mark Rhodes, another local guy from the area who won a bunch of amateur championships last year. He's from the Chicago area, great guy. Also, this has been his best weekend so far. He does a lot with Jason Farrell, and they've got his bike working. But if you can see, all these guys are just being, and ladies, of course, are all taking their time. This is going to probably be the wettest section of the track. And all of them that are on slicks right now, this will be the biggest problem, because when you come down through here, we saw some pretty big puddling, but the track is drying out pretty quickly, isn't it, Greg?
It certainly is. So we're getting ready. This is the warm-up lap where riders try to get themselves and their tires to optimal temperature. 4 women racers in this field, and they're all going to be stacked up basically behind each other. They're offset a little bit, but they're all on the outside of row 7, 8, 9, and 10. And Jason, yeah, you can see there's some shadows as well casting there where, of course, the rain is going to, or the moisture is going to stay on that racetrack. And where we're going to have to be the most careful is what I want to see obviously a good safe start. With the track being a little bit drier, we're going to have that. We don't have a real half-wet, half-dry situation on the front straightaway anymore. It's mostly dry. Number 2, the first time that these guys head down into turn 5, we saw in the KTM race, we had 6 and 7 wide our first lap down there. These bikes are going to be going faster. They're a little bit heavier, a little harder to slow down. I'm hoping that we see a lot of respect, as I think we will, of all these guys. Everybody knows we've got 12 laps to go, and the track is going to get better as we go. And I think that it's a very pivotal point in the championship, Road America. We head next week to Barber, where it's going to be probably pretty hot. I think JD Beach being as far back as he is right now in the points, along with Valentine, I don't think they can give Garrett too many more chances. So this is going to be a very important 2 weeks in this class for a couple of the guys that are chasing Garrett Gerloff. Going to be an important first lap, as well as now it looks like, as we heard from Christy Emmons interviewing these riders, slicks is the tire of choice. And so it's going to be interesting to see if someone's going to hold their breath and try to pin it and break away early as we get ready for race number 1 here from Road America. When the light goes out, here we go. It's that long drag race to turn number 1.
Yep. And you're going to see real quick, JD Beach is going to try to do something. I think Garrett's got the jump on him, and Garrett will probably lead into turn 1, and it's dry right there. So watch to the inside. It's going to get bottlenecked up there, and now we're going to be real careful as we kind of swing through turn 1. We want to stay off the white lines to the left, Greg. They might still have a little bit of moisture on them.
Yeah.
And we have a field that's made it all the way through turn 1.
So here we go down into turn number 3, and it looks like YES Graves Yamaha bikes lead the way. Garrett Gerloff on the 31, and number 1 is JD Beach. So a nice tight field. Now they're going to come to another section of this racetrack, which is going to be critical. High speed downhill braking into turn number 5. We're going to go here in a minute, as it looks like Gerloff got a good launch.
Got a great launch, and this is where looking at that warm-up lap and really being able to pay attention to the track conditions are going to big dividends for those that really paid attention to what was dry, what wasn't dry. Sometimes on a warm-up lap, Greg, if the sun was in my eyes, I would actually turn around on my warm-up lap and look back so I could see the dry sections. And we can see now that Valentine has got himself up into second place there behind Garrett. He doesn't want to let him get away.
Cam Peterson actually looked like, I thought it was the 45 of Peterson.
It might be, yes.
Cam Peterson, of course, not worried about these conditions at all. So it is Cam Peterson, the 4th place in points, as now Peterson looks to be very aggressive on that SportBikeTrackTime.com M4 Suzuki. So now Cam Peterson, who won a race earlier on this season, it was round number 2 from New Jersey.
Yeah, if you remember that race, Joe Roberts was leading and tipped over on the last lap.
Race 2, round 3, yeah.
Yeah, but he absolutely won that race by pressuring. He takes through the lead as we head down into turn 11. This is, you're going to see it's getting dry down here. Now we're going to get back into the wet, and look who's back there in fourth. Just watching what's going on. Joe Roberts is going to just have a good eye on what's happening in front of him.
So Cam Peterson now takes over the lead. The 45 on the M4 SportBikeTrackGear.com Suzuki. Boy, look for a moment there out of turn, going into turn 5, that Garrett Gerloff would start walking away from this field. And JD Beach now gets passed by the 27 of Joe Roberts.
Everybody's feeling this section out. It's great to see everybody just kind of get through this first lap right now. You can see it gets very wet here. It's going to go back to dry. It's been a perfect lap so far for Cameron out in front, doing a fantastic job. But the thing is everybody's being respectful to the conditions and each other. Joe Roberts is going to slide underneath JD Beach. They head into the last corner, which looks almost all the way dry now, that last turn. And they're going to be coming up this front straightaway. We're going to see who's got the horsepower. It looks like Garrett's got a good drive out of there. He's going to get tucked in right behind Cameron as they come across the finish lap 1.
Here they come, headed to the stripe for the first time. It's Cam Peterson. And no, it looks like Garrett Gerloff will come to the stripe first. So it's Garrett Gerloff who will lead the first lap of this race with Cam Peterson in second. I'm going to tell you what's really crazy looking at the timing and scoring screens is that Cam Peterson actually did a faster lap time than Garrett Gerloff. I don't know how that's physically possible, but now Cam Peterson goes back around Garrett Gerloff. So as riders start to feel their way around this really weird conditions, it's partially wet and mostly dry. Very tricky. Garrett Gerloff with the most on the line right now as he has over a race lead in terms of his points. 25 for a win, 31 is the lead in the championship. So Gerloff right now with the most to lose as JD Beach goes around his teammate. So that's JD Beach on the number 1, Gerloff on the 31, the 27, Joe Roberts. And on back through the field, Valentine DeBees kind of snuggled back there on that M4 SportBikeTrackGear.com Suzuki. So thought I would see him closer to the front right now, JP.
Yep, well, this is keeping a lot of people, you know, you see that big gaggle of super stock bikes all there together, and nobody's really getting away, so you could be a bit patient. Look at Bryce Prince coming after Joe Roberts. Bryce Prince is on our first super stock bike. The guy that we were talking about earlier has just gone underneath Joe Roberts and is up to 4th overall.
He's on that white and red Yamaha, that red backing number 74. That's the one you're looking at right now. Bryce Prince, who's leading the Superstock 600 championship by 33 over Dakota Momola, has now worked himself into 4th spot overall as the battle up front continues, as now Cam Peterson comes under fire from JD Beach.
Yeah, this is the nice little section that they added a bunch of years ago to slow down what we used to call the kink. And you can see the lean angles are getting a little bit greater. You can see the throttles getting open a little bit faster. This is all that little slick section. And how about Bryce Prince? I'm so impressed with him. We talked about him right at the beginning, Greg. And he said, why would I go after and chase those super sport bikes, right? Well, he's right there in the mix of those guys right now. And if he can just get in that draft, what it's going to do for him is it's going to pull him away from the rest of his class.
Yeah.
And that's what he's trying to do. Coming up this hill, this is all blind. This is extremely uphill. You can't see around this turn. This is a very fast in the dry left-hander. JD Beach trying to go to the front to see if Cam holds off that brake lever. He does. He just holds him behind just a little bit more.
So JD Beach now trying to get a good drive on Cam Peterson. Suzuki versus Yamaha. GSXR 600. Look at Peterson now heading closer to the wall. It's an old dirt tracker's trick. Trying to break some draft as JD Beach goes right by and into the lead, heading into turn number 1. So a new leader here. 3 laps of 12 complete. JD Beach takes over from Cam Peterson. Gerloff, and is that Bryce Prince? Oh, and Bryce Prince not scared to go over that paint. He takes over 3rd for the moment.
and it's fine. You know, it's all getting dried out now. So that's okay that he was able to go out and run over that paint stripes the way he did there. So
yeah, he had to hold his breath a little bit though, don't you think?
You're going to see Garrett Gerloff go right by Bryce there, and you're probably going to see Joe Roberts follow suit. They want to get that Superstock bike behind him, but Bryce is so good under braking. Let's see if Joe repays the favor and goes back by him under braking. And now we got our main 4 Supersport bikes up in the front, still back there looking for Valentine, who's back in 9th place. Like you said, Greg, I did expect him to be a little bit further up. And Bryce Prince looks back, sees Escalante behind him.
Yeah, Richie Escalante.
And Dakota Momola, Dion Campbell's right behind those guys also. So that Superstock battle's shaping up also. Nobody getting away at the front, though.
No, Bryce Prince having a good go at it. And that, of course, was just a difference in motorcycle, both in engine modifications and electronics. So that's the difference between a Supersport and a Superstock 600 bike. Subtle difference, but that acceleration makes a big difference. Now look at the 74 and the 31. A little love tap there.
He just got out. He just got out a little bit wide, but you can see he's starting to open up his entries as Bryce because it's drier out there now. And you're going to start to see a lot of guys following suit. As JD looks like he's pulled the pin a little bit here and is trying to pull away from these guys, make a little bit of a break. But this guy here, number 31, he's got JD and Cameron right in front of him. He's going to be able to gauge the pace of the 2 in front. And Cameron really pulled up on the back of JD through that chicane.
Now I can tell you right now, and I am not making any excuses for Garrett Gerloff, hasn't felt well, had some stomach problems all weekend long these last couple days, and he definitely was up late last night. So here goes Cam Peterson, not taking it from JD Beach. He wants to lead this race, and he slowly ekes by under braking to take over the lead with Gerloff right behind. So you can see, Jason, that in different parts of this racetrack, these riders are just different. Seesaw battle going on, that accordion effect where Cam Peterson likes this section. He likes his chances with the front end and rear end of this motorcycle, but up the front straightaway they come. Yep. And we know the R6 has got strong legs.
And Garrett's going to get a double draft off of his teammate and Cameron right now. You see him pull to the inside of Cameron as they head down into turn 1, and the track is dry, so they're going to be able to open up their options as far as passing goes. And look at Bryce Prince going back by Joe Roberts.
Wow.
I think Bryce thinks to himself, you know, I told Greg something, but I'm feeling a little bit different right now. And he might try to go back down underneath Garrett as they get down to the bottom of turn 3 here. If he's smart, like he is right now, he's going to stay and he's going to get the draft off these first 3 Supersport bikes. And you might see that Superstock bike try to pull out and do something at the end of that back straightaway, turn 5, as they head out. Now this is they're going to go from 2nd grade through 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. They're going to back shift all the way down to 2nd. Some guys have even gone all the way back down to 1st when they get to the bottom. As Garrett Gerloff powers past Cameron, headed down to turn 5. Cameron switches back over and is going to go back underneath Garrett.
Deep on the brakes goes the 45, back around the 31. So Cam Peterson in turn 5, nice and deep. He's able to hold on to that apex and get out there. So now it is JD Beach, Cam Peterson, Garrett Gerloff, and Bryce Prince, the first of our Superstock 600 riders, in a battle with the Supersport guys right now. And back there hanging on is Richie Escalante. So Escalante on the 54, and Travis Wyman right there in 6th, having a great race.
And this is, as a Superstock rider, this is the greatest thing for these kids, because they're saying, wow, these are all the guys that we want to race against next year and years going forward. And Bryce is getting a chance to size up some of these guys that he might get a chance to race with, as is Travis Wyman and Richie Escalante, who's come back this year from some pretty catastrophic injuries during the off-season. He's doing a fantastic job. I spoke to him back there. You can see him a little bit further back there on that number 54. JD, this is where Cameron's bike just seems like it turns and does things so well.
Right? He just closed up. Looked like JD had a little bit of a miscue, but not as much as Cameron Peterson made it look like for sure.
It's really hard to do any passing down through here when it's a little bit damp. But going back to Escalante real quick, he told me it's actually easier for him to ride than to walk or do anything else. So Cameron's going to sneak back up underneath JD Beach again.
He's strong in this section of the racetrack. He's got a lot of confidence, Cam Peterson does, in his Suzuki in this part of the racetrack. But man, in order for him to really be able to hold on start-finish line, he's going to have to gap these riders, as the Yamahas look like they really have some motor driving up the hills on these Suzukis right now. It might not just be the motor, though. It just might be some gearing as well, as this could be some of these riders' first chance at racing against other guys, other manufacturers right now, as JD Beach, here's the move. Will he get by him by the stripe? Yeah, JD Beach takes over the lead And here comes Garrett Gerloff. So JD Beach on that number 1. Garrett Gerloff on the 31, trying to get Cam Peterson on the brakes. But Cam is showing he's very strong in turn number 1 as the battle continues up front. And it looks like Travis Wyman still holding on there, as it looks like Escalante now. Or Escalante, a little bit of a gap back to him.
Yep. It looks like Travis Wyman now sees Bryce up ahead of him, and he wants to go forward with him also, like you say. So these guys now, just looking at the lap times, we're at a 2:32.4, and to give everybody a little idea at home how far off they are, they went 2:18.1 in qualifying. So that means that the pace obviously is a little bit slower, but the track is going to continue to improve. And I'm just looking back down. Big move by Travis Wyman. Big move
right
there by
around
Travis.
Joe Roberts.
And all these Supersport guys are going, who are all the red plates?
Yes. Where are these guys all
Where are all
here?
the red plates coming from? Maybe a red plate guy is going to just come up and take this race.
Keep in mind, too, that these Superstock 600 bikes are on DOT tires. So these riders, if there are damp spots on the track where they have to have a little bit of lean angle, they might feel a little bit more confident, as now there's a pass for third place. Goes Bryce Prince around Garrett Gerloff.
You know, and if you're Bryce Prince, you've probably got your team to tell you on the pit board what your plus sign is to the guy behind you.
That's right.
In your class.
That's right.
So even though he might be only 0.2 of a second ahead of a Supersport bike, if he had +6 right now, they're going to put +6 on his board. His board is continuing to say +0 because of that number 24, Travis Wyman, who's been fast all weekend, just sitting there right now behind Garrett Gerloff. And then just behind them, Escalante is behind Joe Roberts. So very, very fantastic showing by these 3 guys on Superstock bikes. And just in the back there, I can see Connor Blevins, I can see Nick McFadden, Dakota Momola. They're all trying to just get just a little bit closer and chip away at this lead. Cameron Peterson
there we go.
does it again, down to Canada corner.
Canada corner, turn number 12. Cam Peterson from turn 12 to turn 14. As of this moment, with 5 into this race, Cam Peterson has owned this section of the racetrack. Now we're going to see the difference between a Supersport and a Superstock 600 bike. Not only the Yamaha versus the Suzuki, but look at Bryce Prince on that white and red motorcycle. A good drive in JD Beach's draft. But watch that Supersport machine start to pull away as JD Beach now catches a sniff of the Suzuki, and around he goes. And that's really a thing to think about if you're Cam Peterson, because JD keeps getting him by the stripe, by start-finish line. If that was the last lap, JD Beach would have won the race.
I think Cameron feels, though, that as long as he can take advantage and try to get up there in the front and keep pace with these Yamaha guys, that's what he's going to do. Look how tight JD Beach went down into turn 3 on that lap. There's still a lot of patience being shown. That lead group now has dipped. In fact, everybody from 1st through 10th has dipped into the 129 range. Everybody from JD Beach, 229 range. Everybody from JD Beach all the way down to Dakota Momola in 10th.
229's pole position, a 218.1 is Cam Peterson now sliding by into turn 5. Can he get that bike turned? Whoa, it's a little bit wide. He's going to lose some drive. So Cam Peterson loses enough drive where he loses the lead as JD Beach goes around and takes over the spot, and that's really closed the gap to these top 4.
One thing I want to just pay attention to, Greg, Valentine DeBees is in the pits. So that's one of our, we were wondering why he wasn't doing better. I just saw him going down on our screen, and he's in pits. I'm looking across to see if I can see him over there, and I cannot. So
second in points, Valentine DeBees now in the pits. Heartbreak for that team as he's going to lose the possibility of scoring points unless they get him back out. So many riders in this field, though, as we continue to look at our front runners. JD Beach, Cam Peterson, number 1, the 45, 31, Garrett Gerloff, 74, Bryce Prince, and right behind him, Joe Roberts, starting to come under attack and attack himself on the 27, just trying to hold on as Bryce Prince looks over his shoulder. Wow, he has got to be happy with this race right now. Bryce Prince on that Superstock 600. We haven't seen the Superstock 600 this close to the front all year.
What do you think Cam's going to do in Canada corner, Greg?
I don't know. How about go by JD Beach to take over the lead again? Another race lead change.
Yep, and what's happening now is what you talked about with Bryce, even back there and forth. He's starting to stretch that gap a little bit on the Superstock bikes. If he can just continue to push and stay that pace, he's going to continue to build that gap, because Joe Roberts has now got by Travis Wyman and Richie Escalante, and Joe Roberts will be the benefactor now. If he can somehow just sniff the back of that bike that Bryce Prince is on, it's going to help him, because his bike's already going to be a little bit faster because of the differences in the class. He should be able to draft and get up closer to that lead 3 guys.
But Jason, I'm going to tell you something. Last time coming across the line, it was Cam Peterson. So whatever he did on that lap worked for him, as we see JD Beach go around him again. So it's now Beach, Peterson, and Garrett Gerloff with Bryce Prince. He is so strong into turn number 1 right now. Is Cam Peterson going to make a move? Nope. Now, Christy Emmons, Cam Peterson's teammate, Valentine DeBees, in the pits. Do you have an update for us?
Yes, I do, Greg. So it looks like Valentine pulled in due to problems with his clutch.
Okay, wow. All right, great. Thanks you so much, Christy, on that one. So a bad clutch for him. He could have burned it up on the start, but here we go. Look who's starting to fight back and takes over the lead. It's Garrett Gerloff over JD Beach. Now Cam Peterson right there and Bryce Prince still in the mix. Could this be the point of the race? 7 of 12 in the books. We're past halfway point. Is Garrett Gerloff going to go for it now and try to pull the linchpin?
Our championship leader just ran the fastest lap of the race this last lap, but look at Cam Peterson. Cam looks like he could put his bike anywhere on the racetrack.
Yeah, really
that's a very, very strong thing to have in the back of your mind, just knowing that you can put it anywhere. Cam's going to do everything he can to get back by Garrett. He doesn't want to have Garrett have that clear track, run his own race. He wants to do everything he can to get back out in front of him. So we'll see here if Cam can pull the same. Garrett's obviously been behind JD and seen where Cam is strong going down into Canada corner, and we are coming into that area. You can see at home now the lean angles have all increased. There's actually a dark patch on the exit of the carousel that they just came through. They ran over for the first time. Now these guys are starting to go quick. We're looking at 226.9 that last time by Garrett. Now, if Cameron can stay in the draft of that Yamaha as they go down through this back straight, I expect him to try to pass him again, get that pace back to where he wants. He doesn't want Garrett just clearing off.
YES Graves Yamaha, Garrett Gerloff, M4 Sportbike, TrackGear.com, Suzuki. And also, I want you to take a look at 5th place Joe Roberts. It looks like he's starting to find a rhythm. Now, I can tell you in qualifying, Garrett Gerloff was 2 seconds quicker than Cam Peterson. As Cam Peterson looks like, as his pace is picking up, that he's starting to struggle with the front end of that motorcycle just a little bit, as Garrett Gerloff looks like he is in control. Look at the speed. What a drive.
And we're going to see what he's got for that Yamaha. The thing is, Greg, is that before this race, it was raining, and they may have done some softer settings on a few of these bikes with the idea that maybe it could be half wet, it could be half dry. You're going to really be able to tell setup, and it looks like that Suzuki is now up alongside, but can he squeeze by? Not quite yet.
Wow, so it looked like the Suzuki had some motor, but it just didn't have the punch to drive by that Yamaha, and that could be gearing in this situation. It could be what Jason's talking about. It could be the rain. Sometimes the teams will make changes to these motorcycles. Either way, you get what you get in this race, as 8 of 12 are in the books. We're scheduled for a full 12 right now, and JD Beach is starting to hold on, but now where's Bryce Prince?
And look what happened as soon as Garrett Gerloff took the lead. It has now separated our field. It's taken our 6 riders down into 2 right now. Cam Peterson has shown an incredible ability to be able to take that Suzuki, put it anywhere he wants in the next particular section of track that we're going to. You'll see him look up the inside, the outside of Garrett there. So Joe Roberts trying to sneak under Bryce Prince, and he's able to make that pass. Let's see if he can make it stick. Don't want to get on that white line too much. Now, that super stock battle, look at that. Travis Wyman and Richie Escalante are right behind Bryce Prince. Joe's got to do everything he can to try to separate himself from that battle, because those guys are going to be infighting between themselves.
Jason, I don't think I've ever seen riders like this look behind him as much as I've seen right there. Yep. Joe Roberts with a bit of a miscue, holds on to it. Back up front, though, and look who has taken the lead. It's Cam Peterson over Garrett Gerloff.
Yep, when we left that battle, I said this is the spot where Cameron's good, and especially through here. He's really good about getting that bike from one side to the next. Now, he's actually going to lead them down the back straightaway. Garrett is close enough to where he could draft. Right here, you're going to see where it's really wet. This is all wet, so it's going to make it difficult to really want to try to do much passing back down through here until you get to Canada corner, where they're coming into now. Let's see if Garrett goes underneath the guy who's owned this turn. Cameron's got him staying behind him through there. We saw our first little glimpse of some lap traffic coming up, and let's see. Got the blue flag. Good man. I believe that's Jai Armstrong just moving out of the way a little bit, and you know, we don't know what tires he's on. He may have made a little different tire choice. That's why we're seeing him a little bit early.
Can Cam Peterson get the drive he had last time as he was following Garrett Gerloff? So here they come. It's a very steep climb up a hill. It takes a different motor to do this, as now Garrett Gerloff swings wide. That's an indication that he thinks he has the speed, and he does. He goes right by Cam Peterson, and here they go into turn number 1 as Garrett Gerloff rolls off the gas on the brakes. Cam Peterson not able to close up like we've seen him in the past. Boy, Garrett Gerloff knows what Cam Peterson has now, but it was JD Beach who was able to close that gap. Times down into the 24.
And JD Beach saying that got a little spark on him there, and it was good because now all of a sudden it looks like he's going to be trying to catch up. Now, did I just see Joe Roberts in the back of that screen?
I think he did. We don't see him.
And we saw him running wide an awful lot when he had taken. There he is. He's actually gotten passed by all the
Yellow
Superstock
and black.
bikes.
Yep.
That's going to be probably him just running wide somewhere like we had seen him do earlier on that lap. He ran wide in turn 6. He ran wide in turn 8. He obviously made a mistake, and those 3 Superstock bikes have now got by him, and he's back in 7th.
2 championship battles going on simultaneously on the racetrack. White backing on those number plates is the Supersport class. Red backing is the Superstock 600 class. They all compete against each other, but they're scored overall and individually as Cam Peterson on the 45 makes the move past Garrett Gerloff. Takes a look over his shoulder. Don't worry about a nice clean pass. He left the door open for a second in the long carousel, but Garrett Gerloff thinks better of it. Now, here we come up to the chicane after this section where we've seen Cam Peterson be so strong. And look at JD Beach. He got a good drive coming out of that carousel.
Yep, JD wants a little sniff of this now. Now the pace is 24-1, and we're just continuing to see the pace of these 3 guys here drop. And I think the pace now, JD feels comfortable. He knows where he's at. It's not the outright speed that we saw in qualifying from any of these guys. Let's see if Cameron can hold these Yamaha boys behind him as they head down into Canada corner again. It really doesn't do them any advantage to try to pass him through here. I believe they both realize that they can go by him up the front straightaway, especially double drafting, and that's what you'll see probably from JD Beach this lap. If he just gets a little bit closer when they come out of this last corner, he's going to start testing it, Greg, for 3 laps from now when that checker flag comes out. JD's going to start testing, can I draft by these guys by the time I get start finish?
JD Beach telling me that they finally found a good baseline setting, and now he and his team are working on fine-tuning that motorcycle, and you're looking at the result of that right now as JD Beach is trying to get the draft of Garrett Gerloff. At the same time, Cam Peterson tried to get back in there, and look at this. They're all covered up as they come into the heartbreaking turn number 1. It's Cam Peterson who holds on to 2nd place.
That Suzuki is so good under the braking, and that's where he's able to make up all of his time. And you're going to see him even when they come down in this area. He's able to close right up on the back of Garrett. Now, can he stick with him as they come out of turn 3, head down that back straightaway? He's got to get tight on that bike. Cameron's a big kid. You can see he's just a big guy. JD's going to be drafting him, and he can't quite stay with Garrett himself. Now, JD will probably go underneath him, and let's see if Cameron crosses back over and goes back underneath as they get down to the bottom of the hill.
So JD Beach, for a moment, look at Cam Peterson going sideways as he tries to go deep. So the number 1 plate had it for a moment, but Peterson so strong into turn number 5 is able to close that gap ever so slightly on your race leader, Garrett Gerloff on the 31.
And now they're running over the paint everywhere. Just about everywhere they're running over the paint on the exits, and this is where Cam, he's going to do another move to Garrett now when they get down here to turn 8. Let's see if Garrett moves over to the left at all and prevents Cameron from trying to do anything. Gets in there a little bit deeper. They're down to the 23s now.
Hold your breath, folks, because laps are running out here in this first race, the Supersport Superstock 600. You're looking at the sharp end. This is the battle for first place overall between Garrett Gerloff on the 31, Cam Peterson on the 45, and JD Beach, your reigning champ, on the number 1. What was Cam Peterson going to do as Garrett Gerloff? They fall in line right now as Peterson goes a little sideways. I thought Peterson might have a look and a drive up there. But now if Garrett Gerloff can hold on to this lead heading into Canada corner as we're going right now, it'll be interesting to see how the Suzuki fares through the last section of this racetrack and onto the front straightaway. Here we go on the brakes in the Canada corner. And no, Cam Peterson falls right in line.
And it might be Cam's idea there to, like, you know what, I'm going to follow these guys and see if I can do anything with them across, because we haven't seen Cameron come from 3rd or 2nd to see if he can draft by. So he's got to start strategizing what he wants to do also. Let's see if he ducks underneath Garrett here. It looks like he's going to try to, Greg.
Yeah, he does. He takes the move for the moment. So Gerloff not able to get down to the apex, but he'll still be able to screw that throttle on. And here he comes, Gerloff. To the left he goes. So now, lap traffic in the way. Gerloff back to the lead. JD Beach now in 2nd. Cam Peterson shuffled back to 3rd. Peterson going up for the inside. Peterson on the brakes, gets by JD Beach. Lap traffic though, has got to stand up a little bit as he sees the leaders go by. A good move by the 151 to get out of the way. Josh Fogel makes the right move.
Yep, and you can see that it didn't really affect any of our leaders, which is perfect. Now, JD's just far back enough again where he's going to be able to pull that draft up on Cameron. Now Cameron seems like he's a little bit closer. Let's see if he can get any kind of sniff of that draft off of Garrett. I don't think that the Suzuki's quite got the horsepower to get by these guys coming across the line as we're now into the 222s. But Cameron's close enough, headed down there. You didn't have to worry about JD drafting them or any of that other stuff. You're going to see them run out over the paint here on the exit of that corner.
Yep.
Up underneath the Corvette bridge, and now we're back into where Cameron Peterson's bike is the strongest.
So Cam Peterson on that red, white, and blue Suzuki. Got that big M4, sportbiketrackgear.com entry. As now JD Beach is starting to lose touch as the pace picks up here. Peterson hard under braking, but it's Garrett Gerloff on that YES Graves Yamaha. Both those bikes, those white and blue machines, as JD Beach trying to be as aerodynamic as possible coming out of that corner. Here we go through the long carousel. Lap traffic still there. Folks, 11 of 12. That means we have about a lap and a half to go at this point. It's anybody's guess on who's going to win this race. What strategy is going to play out as they go by the 181 of Ann Roberts. She gets out of the way. Good move by her.
Yep.
To let these leaders continue.
Yeah, that was a great move there. So far, everybody's been so good as far as just kind of just moving a little bit out of the way. The blue flags have been flying. I've been hearing the guys talking about them during practice sessions. Now Garrett, this is going to be a fast lap for Garrett. He's done his personal best, Sector 2 and Sector 3. He's trying to pull away from these guys ever so slightly. But now you've got a lap and 2 corners to think about what you want to do. Cameron, we know how strong he is in the Canada corner. We know how strong he is into this last turn that they're getting ready to come out and go into now. But we're going to be able to see right now if that Suzuki has anything by the time they come down across start and finish line here for this white flag lap. Can Cameron get tight enough and close enough to Garrett to do anything, or are we going to have to see him do something in Canada corner or the last corner? JD Beach with a big pull from behind.
Here we go. The white flag flies on race number 1 at MotoAmerica as Garrett Gerloff continues to lead the way. Boy, he went nice and tight in that final corner, and he tested that paint on the outside. And a nice gap now by the Texan Gerloff as Cam Peterson in second spot over that paint. Now down to the hard-braking turn number 3. This is where Garrett Gerloff has been really strong. They drive out of this corner and down into turn number 5.
And to your point there, that's the one spot where Cameron doesn't catch Garrett under braking, and you can see that gap. Now JD's going to have to do something, but Cameron is so good about just releasing the brake lever. Let's see what happens when they get down to the bottom of the hill. Cameron's crossing back over to see if he can get by JD underneath him, and JD runs it in there deep.
So JD Beach trying to yard that motorcycle down, now takes over second spot. So Cam Peterson, who may had his sights set on the 31, has got an eye full of the number 1 plate. So JD Beach working that YES Graves Yamaha R6, now trying to go after his teammate Gerloff for the win. But Garrett Gerloff has had a masterful race. In the middle part of this race, he was just hanging out, watching all the ruckus in front of him, and then he started to really get comfortable with the racetrack. But things have closed up as they do through the carousel. After the carousel here, it's going to be the run into the chicane. We'll see if Garrett Gerloff is able to get it down. Look how close JD is now.
He's so good through the carousel. Now,
look at that exit.
Pulling to the right side. It's going to be very hard to go down around the outside.
Wow, that was close as JD Beach gets the motorcycle slowed. What a strong portion of the racetrack, but it's over. This is the last lap right now. He'll have another opportunity to pass in Canada corner. Is that where he wants to do it? Or does JD want to hang out in second spot and try to draft his teammate? Here we go into the hard-braking turn number 12.
I think he's going to choose to stay back there. Cameron could be, he's in deep, is Cameron, but he's got it turned. Cameron could be the wrench in this, though. If he decides to dive up underneath the inside of JD going in the last corner. Let's see what happens here, Greg.
Here we go. The final corner of the racetrack coming up. JD Beach trying around the outside. Gerloff nice and tight. Is he going to run it wide on the exit as JD gets the motorcycle turned? There Gerloff is up over the paint. Here comes the run to the checkered flag. JD Beach trying to get out of the draft as they come up over the top of the hill. It's as close as you like it. Oh, to the line they go. And it looks like Garrett Gerloff will take the victory by 0.004 seconds, 4 1,000ths of a second as the line.
Escalante gets by Bryce Prince with Joe Roberts back there too. Travis Wyman finishes 3rd in our Superstart category. Awesome race. Bryce Prince, Richie Escalante, who came from behind both of those guys in the Super. We were just as close in Superstock again as we were in Supersport. What a fantastic race by these 3 guys.
Folks, how about Heartbreak as the fastest lap of the race run on the last lap by JD Beach, a 21 .085 and still loses by 0.04 of a second. What a fantastic race in tricky conditions at the start of this.
Yep, and you know, Garrett Gerloff has just got the flow going this year. He's won races by a long margin.
Yep.
He's won the closest races, as we saw at VIR, and we've seen here again. And it's great that he didn't get injured worse than he did at New Jersey. We're able to see him continue. This guy here, though, has found some mojo. And JD Beach, I know that once he starts winning, as I've said in the past, he's going to start putting them together just like Garrett is right now. We're seeing a very carbon copy of what we saw last year, and Garrett got to watch his teammate win a bunch of races.
Huge confidence boost for JD Beach, as he has definitely had an up and down season. But how about the Superstock 600 class? Richie Escalante finishing 4th with Bryce Prince 5th. The margin of victory there, oh, a huge margin of victory, .073. So, you know, 73 hundredths of a second. So, yeah, close racing as we expect here at Road America. Fantastic racing. JD Beach happy to stand second on the podium. Garrett Gerloff and Cam Peterson. And I know Cam Peterson, they're going to go back to work. He'll go back to his crew and he'll talk about, especially I think that run out of turn 3 heading to turn 5. That one right there, if he could figure out how to get that stronger, there's so many sections of this racetrack where he looked good. Lap times 2:21. Just to give you an idea of how that works out for Cam Peterson, his qualifying time was a 2:20.2. So Cam Peterson, his fastest lap of the race being the last lap, only 1.1 seconds off his qualifying time, where JD and Garrett, they were in the 18s, so they were a couple seconds off. But yeah, it got nice and deep into those lap times as this track started to dry out.
And I think the guy that's going to go back and really scratch his head a little bit is Joe. I think Joe Roberts has shown a lot of pace, a lot of pace this weekend, and I believe that, you know, whatever they did to the bike for that particular race, that I think the settings, they may have softened those things up a little, and the bike just was never underneath him. He didn't feel comfortable. He'll come back firing strong tomorrow too.
So JD Beach second in this race, heading to victory lane because he gets to stand on the podium in second by 0.04 of a second. We'll talk to him after the break. Welcome back, everyone, to Road America, the MotoAmerica Championship. Race number 1 for the Supersport Superstock 600 race of the weekend has concluded. A thrilling race, Jason, and look at these results.
Garrett Gerloff, JD Beach, Cam Peterson. This race never seems to disappoint us. Every weekend it has been close. Richie Escalante, our first of our Superstock, great win for him. Bryce Prince, second in Superstock. Joe Roberts finishing 6th. Travis Wyman rounding out the podium in Superstock in 3rd. With Dakota Momola, Nick McFadden 8th and 9th. Both classes, again, very close. Connor Blevins running 10th.
Little surprise, Jason Aguilar back in 17th spot. A good run by Melissa Paris just outside the points, as Andy DeBrino will score this single point in this one as we pay back to 15th in the MotoAmerica Championship. Caroline Olsen back there, the last rider to finish on the lead lap. A good run for her in 19th. I know Caroline, she's going to be very disappointed in that, as she wants to score points, but that's the way it goes. Now we get to go down to winner's circle. Christy Lee has Cam Peterson. Christy Emmons has Cam Peterson.
Cam, what a battle that was. How do you feel about your finish?
Yeah, you know, I'm a little bit disappointed. You know, happy to get a podium. Was a fun race, and you know, we gave it everything I had. It was a pity, you know, the Yamahas, I think, had a bit more speed than what we did. So, you know, I was trying to do everything I could on the brakes and, you know, try to lead as much as I could. But, yeah, it was a fun race with those guys. You know, they're riding awesome, JD and Garrett. So, yeah, you know, another podium. You know, I'm happy that my progress, I'm constantly at the front now. So, yeah, like I say, just going to keep on building this momentum and see what tomorrow brings.
Congratulations.
All right, well, Cam Peterson wasn't as happy as I thought he would be.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think he saw the little bit of deficit that we could see, that Suzuki's running awesome. And the fact is that he's been able to put that bike anywhere he wants. Cameron's really come into his own. He rode an R6 last year, and he's adapted very well with the team this year. New team, new bike to him. And he's just showing that he can consistently run at the front of these races no matter what the conditions are. So good on him, and continue to get points. And we'll get back down to Christy with JD Beach.
JD Beach, you were telling me that this is one of your favorite racetracks. How was this race for you?
Yeah, it was a good race. On my Yamaha extended service, Graves Yamaha, the race started out really good, and then it was still pretty wet, and but then towards the middle of the race, I kind of slowed down a little bit, and Garrett and Cameron kind of pulled a gap on me, but I was able to reel them back in, and I had a plan for the last lap, and it was going good, and came out of last turn. I was coming on Garrett hard and just pulled out a little bit too early, and got second. But we're feeling good. I'm back. I'm riding like I was last year, and I'm ready to go for tomorrow.
Congratulations, JD.
Jason, that shows JD Beach. He's got a plan. You know, he's formulating that plan while he's racing. I mean, this is what a champion is all about.
That's what he does. And again, he gave up 5 points today, but he didn't give up more. And you know, he's making it hard, and he knows he's making it hard on himself. He knows it's only a matter of time until he starts clicking off some race wins. But, you know, he's closer. That's the main thing. I know he's just struggled this year, and there's a few things that even I've been able to. I've talked to him just to find out what his struggles are.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating when you're used to winning races, and then you're kind of back where you are. We'll get back down to Christy one more time.
Congratulations. It was quite the race out there. How'd it feel battling for the win?
Oh my gosh, it was getting hectic in there. Like first couple, you know, the first half of the race, we were trying to figure out where all the wet spots were and where the track was slick. And I mean, Bryce was riding really awesome and was up there battling with us. And as soon as he passed me the first time, I was like, all right, I think I need to start kind of making my way forward if I can. And luckily my Yamaha R6 is just hauling butt. You know, it's just, you could tell out there, we had a really fast bike today. And I was just really happy to be able to just tuck as tight as I could and you know, hold off JD for that win. But man, it's been a hectic day, and just really happy to end it with a win. And I can't thank all my sponsors, team, everything, and for all the hard work they've been doing, Cortex, Shoei, CD Boots, and I just got to give all the glory to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So thank you.
Garrett, thank you.
All right. You know, one thing about Garrett, Jason, is that before the race we talked to him, he talks at a very slow, monotone pace. After a race win, he's still on the gas.
Yeah.
And that's when you know he's happy.
And let's just be honest. When he took the lead, the pace dropped. Second he took the lead, he separated all the field. There were 7 or 8 guys that we were looking at in that lead group. Once Garrett Gerloff got to the front, he did what he's been doing all year. He dropped the pace, pulled everybody apart, and good on him for yet another close win. As we look at the championship standings, Garrett has now jumped himself out to a 39-point lead. That's a huge points loss for Valentine DeBees today. Too bad for the clutch. We saw him going back earlier. That was a shame. Cameron Peterson, Joe Roberts are rounding out our top 5. Really sad not to see Benny Solis here this weekend. We're hoping to see him back at Barber next. And then we got Bryce Prince, first of our super stalkers, with Dakota Momola, Travis Wyman in the top 9.
And on back through the field, Richie Escalante with his finish. He's clawing his way up through the field because he was absent for the first bit of this season, as well as Nick McFadden. So very interesting to see Richie Escalante. He's going to start taking big chunks of points along the way. And you can see that riders scoring points. Josh Fogel, who was in the race, he's got 5 points on his Suzuki GSX-R 600. So a good race here at Road America. Very exciting race. We expect to see dry weather tomorrow. We're certainly hoping that we don't have the inclement conditions that we saw today for tire choices, and that things will go back to normal. As we take a look at the podium right here, it's Garrett Gerloff standing in the #1 position. JD Beach by 4 thousandths of a second. Maybe JD's hair flopping in the breeze might have caused that 4 thousandths of a second. And Cam Peterson doing an absolute great job in 3rd. Thoughts, Jason?
Well, I think that right now we've kind of talked about it a little bit. Garrett is definitely the class of the field. JD's closing that gap. Cameron is showing a lot of consistency on the podium. I think these are the 3 guys, and obviously you got to throw Valentine DeBees in there. He's been there all year. He's done a fantastic job. It's a shame to see his clutch go to where it is, but Garrett's doing exactly what you have to do to win a championship. You just got to keep winning races. Don't think about the championship. Try to win as many races as you can. The championship does take care of itself. And the one thing that I have to mention, I've never heard him talk about it once. He just sits there and just keeps winning races. He's not saying, oh, this is a good points day for our championship. He's just saying, I won another race. Let's move forward. Let's go to the next round tomorrow. And then we're off to Barber.
All right, folks, thanks so much for joining us here at MotoAmerica. We'll see you tomorrow for another race. Motor racing by nature is a thrilling and dangerous sport, which many fans around the world enjoy as they watch their idols and heroes compete. And even though every motorsports competitor is aware of the risks and dangers that come with the sport they love, it still comes as a shock and sadness when one of our own falls. Earlier this weekend, during a Moto2 free practice 2 at Catalunya Grand Prix, an on-track accident took the life of racer Luis Salam. The motorsports world has lost a young, bright rising star. All of us here at BN Sports, along with the entire motorsports community, send our thoughts and condolences to the family and friends of Luis Salam. You will be missed. Godspeed.